Have you ever woken up with that sick feeling in your stomach, like the ground beneath you isn't solid anymore? The woman you trusted, the woman you gave your time, your heart, maybe even your future to, suddenly, she's not who you thought she was. It's not always that she leaves. Sometimes she stays, but her eyes, her attention, her energy belongs to someone else. And the truth is, for many men, it's not just the act of betrayal that breaks them. It's the unanswered question, the haunting why. Why would she risk everything? Why would she cheat when she already had love? That question alone can consume a man's sanity, leaving him replaying every moment, every smile, every silence, like a movie stuck on repeat. But here's the truth most men never hear. Women rarely cheat for the reasons you think. It's not always about lust. It's not always about a better-looking man. And it's not always about money. Number. Often it's something far more subtle, psychological, and hidden beneath layers of unspoken emotions. Men are taught to measure love by loyalty, by action. But women, they measure love by feeling. And when those feelings fade, when they don't feel seen, heard, or desired, something dangerous can begin to grow inside them, a quiet storm. You see, cheating doesn't usually start in the bedroom, it starts in the mind. It begins with an emotional gap, a void where affection, validation, or connection used to live. A man thinks he's safe because he provides, because he's loyal, because he's consistent. But consistency without emotional connection feels like absence. It feels like silence. And silence for a woman can be deafening. Here's the part no one wants to admit. Sometimes she doesn't cheat to replace you. Sometimes she cheats to replace the version of herself she lost in the relationship. The version who felt desired, alive, pursued, admired. That doesn't excuse it, but it does explain why so many men are blindsided. Because while you were building loyalty, she was slowly starving for something invisible. And if you've ever been betrayed, know this. It wasn't about you not being enough. It was about her chasing something she never learned how to create within herself. That's the seed of it all. The hardest truth to swallow is this. Cheating is rarely spontaneous. It's not a lightning strike. It's a slow burn, a pattern that starts long before the act itself. Most men picture betrayal as a single night, a reckless decision fueled by temptation. But in reality, it's the accumulation of countless moments where she feels unseen, unheard, or undervalued. That's the psychological crack that slowly widens until someone else slips through. Women are emotional storytellers. They live in the narrative of how they feel in a relationship. If that story begins shifting from passion and security to monotony and distance, she doesn't simply tell herself, "I'm unhappy." She unconsciously starts rewriting her role in the story. Suddenly, she's no longer the adored woman you fought for. She's the overlooked woman who feels forgotten. And when another man appears who pays attention, listens, and makes her feel alive again, he becomes a symbol, not just a person. He represents the feeling she's been starving for. This doesn't mean she wanted to replace you. It means she wanted to replace the emptiness. But men often miss the signs because they're looking at the wrong indicators. You think if she isn't complaining, if the bills are paid, if intimacy still happens now and then, everything is fine. But silence isn't safety. Silence can be the quietest red flag of all. Psychologically, many women cheat not because they don't love their partner, but because they don't feel loved by him in the way they once did. It's emotional hunger disguised as betrayal. And here's the dangerous part. Once that door opens, even slightly, it's hard for her to close it. The thrill of new attention, the dopamine rush of being desired, can become addictive. She doesn't compare the new man to you logically. She compares how she feels around him versus how she feels around you. That's why so many men are blindsided. You can be loyal, hardworking, even faithful to the end, and still lose her emotionally if you fail to understand this simple truth. Women don't cheat because they're searching for a better man. They cheat because they're searching for a better feeling. And until you learn to recognize when she's emotionally drifting, you'll always think it came out of nowhere. Now here's where the psychology gets even darker. For some women, cheating isn't about filling a void at all. It's about testing power. Relationships aren't just about love. They're about dynamics, invisible exchanges of energy. And when a woman begins to feel powerless, overlooked, or like her emotions don't matter, she may unconsciously seek control somewhere else. Cheating in this case becomes less about passion and more about reclaiming a sense of agency. It's a twisted way of saying, I still have options, I still matter, I still hold value. This doesn't mean every woman who cheats is manipulative. It means that deep down, insecurity often drives behavior. A woman who feels neglected might not leave because she fears loneliness, but she might cheat because it temporarily soothes the fear of being invisible. The new attention isn't just exciting, it's validating. It tells her she still has influence, that she can still inspire desire. To her, that rush of validation feels like oxygen after drowning in emotional neglect. And here's the brutal part. While men tend to cheat for novelty or physical attraction, women more often cheat for reassurance of worth. That's why the betrayal cuts so deep. Because she's not just stepping out for a body, she's stepping out for an identity. She's seeking the reflection of herself she no longer sees in your eyes. And when another man gives her that reflection, it becomes intoxicating. This is why some women cheat and still insist they love their partner. Because in their mind, the betrayal wasn't about replacing you. It was about repairing themselves, even if in the most destructive way possible. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains the contradiction. How she can cry in your arms one moment and still cross boundaries the next. It's not logic, it's psychology. And men, this is the lesson most of you were never taught. You can't prevent betrayal by control, by suspicion, or by force. You prevent it by creating emotional depth, by never letting the bond go numb. Because once she feels like a shadow of who she used to be, the temptation of someone who makes her feel alive again becomes almost irresistible. The question isn't just why do women cheat? The real question is, what did she stop feeling long before it happened? There's a hidden layer most men never see, and it's this. Women are emotional mirrors. The way you show up, the way you speak, the energy you carry, it reflects back into how she feels about herself. When you're confident, affectionate, and attentive, she feels radiant, desired, alive. But when you're distant, stressed, or simply going through the motions, she feels that void echo inside her. And over time, if that mirror reflects back indifference or neglect, she begins to doubt not just the relationship, but her own worth. That's when vulnerability opens the door to betrayal. Think about it. A woman doesn't usually cheat on the day everything falls apart. She cheats while everything looks fine from the outside. The dinners still happen, the routines still run, but emotionally she's starving, and starvation changes people. The smallest crumb of attention from another man can suddenly feel like a feast. He doesn't have to be better than you. He doesn't have to have more money, more looks, or more status. He just has to awaken something that's been sleeping inside her. That awakening can feel irresistible. Here's what makes it more dangerous. Women are masters at rationalizing emotions. She'll tell herself it's just a conversation, just a harmless text, just a moment of fun. But every just becomes another step across the line. By the time she realizes how far she's gone, the bond of secrecy has already built a wall between her and you, and that wall grows taller each day she hides behind it. What men often miss is the micro signs of this drift. The phone she guards closer, the smile that lingers after a text, the sudden spark in her eyes that you haven't seen directed at you in months. Those aren't random. Those are signals of a new emotional connection forming. And the brutal truth is, once her emotions cross the line, the body is rarely far behind. But here's the shift you need to understand. It's not always about what you didn't give her. Sometimes it's about the parts of herself she never healed. Childhood wounds, insecurities, fears of abandonment. They can all resurface and push her toward validation outside the relationship. If she hasn't faced those shadows, they'll find a way to bleed into your bond. So remember, cheating isn't just about desire. It's about unhealed pain meeting unmet needs and exploding in silence. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. Sometimes cheating isn't about lack at all, it's about thrill. For certain women, the act of secrecy itself becomes intoxicating. It's not just about another man, it's about the adrenaline of breaking rules, of living a double life, of feeling powerful enough to outsmart the person who trusts them most. Psychologists call this sensation eroticized risk, and while it sounds clinical, it's devastatingly real. It's the rush of walking on a tightrope without falling, the high of playing with fire without getting burned. And the reason it's so dangerous is because it rewires the brain. The dopamine hit she feels when sneaking a message, when lying convincingly, when creating that secret world, becomes addictive. It's not always about the other man's value. It's about how she feels in the act of deception. She feels alive, desired, unstoppable. That thrill becomes the drug, and the man she cheats with is just the dealer. This is why some women cheat even when they have everything: a loving partner, stability, security, even passion at home. Because for them, the betrayal isn't about what they're missing. It's about what they're chasing, a forbidden rush that routine can never match. And when you realize this, it stings deeper because you can't compete with a drug. You can't compete with the high of danger. But here's what most men don't understand. This thrill-seeking behavior often comes from unresolved chaos inside. Women who grew up around instability, drama, or unpredictability can unconsciously crave it in adulthood. Peace feels boring, stability feels suffocating, and chaos feels like home. So even if you give her love, she may chase danger because calmness feels foreign. That's why you can be perfect on paper and still find yourself betrayed. Does that mean all women are destined to cheat? Absolutely not. But it does mean you must recognize that fidelity isn't just about love. It's about self-control, maturity, and emotional stability. And if she hasn't developed those within herself, no amount of loyalty from you can protect the relationship. So the lesson here is sobering. Love alone doesn't stop betrayal. Because for some women, cheating isn't about escaping you. It's about escaping themselves. Now you know the truth most men are never told. Women don't always cheat because they want someone better. Sometimes it's emptiness, sometimes it's validation, sometimes it's chaos, and sometimes it's just the craving of a forbidden thrill. But no matter the reason, betrayal always cuts the same. It takes a piece of you with it. It leaves you questioning your worth, your memory, even your sanity. And that's the part no one prepares men for, the aftershock. The sleepless nights, the endless analyzing, the way you look in the mirror and wonder if you weren't enough. But listen carefully, it was never about you not being enough. It was about her chasing something she couldn't face inside herself. If you've ever been betrayed, you know the silent war it creates in your heart. One moment you want answers, the next you want revenge, the next you just want to forget. But the deeper truth is this: you can't control another person's choices, you can only control your own. Cheating is a reflection of their character, not a measurement of your value. And the worst thing you could ever do is let her betrayal turn you bitter, guarded, or blind to love itself. Because when you carry that wound into the future, you keep her ghost alive inside you. So what do? You learn, you sharpen your vision, you stop assuming silence means safety. You pay attention not just to her words but to her energy, her eyes, her presence. You build relationships where emotional depth is never